Welcome to the tutorial video for a Global Register of Competencies for Threatened Species Recovery practitioners. This video will give you an introduction into how to use the Competence Register. Firstly, let's introduce you to the Competence Register structure. It's important to highlight at this stage that the structure is merely a way of organising the competencies in a logical format so that practitioners can find the competencies they need. The Competence Register is split into three overarching groups. A. Planning, Management and Administration. This is the planning, management and administration of threatened species recovery programmes. B. Threatened species recovery. These are the specialist technical skills of threatened species management. And C. General personal competencies. These are individual attributes for use in all areas of work. Threatened species recovery is then split into the additional subgroups. These are species management, direct species recovery practices, people and behaviour, indirect species recovery practices through human behavioural change, and science, technology and fieldwork, the practical and scientific aspects of threatened species recovery programmes. There are 19 categories of threatened species recovery split across the three groups and subgroups, representing all the aspects of threatened species recovery. Within the categories, the competencies are split into four professional levels: executive, senior manager, middle manager or technical specialist, and skilled worker. And within the professional levels are the individual competencies. There are 293 in total. Now we've been through the overall structure, let's see the Competence Register itself and get familiar with the layout. The Threatened Species Recovery Competence Register Excel spreadsheet is an open access tool for anyone to use in any way which suits them. Here I'll go through each tab to familiarise you with the layout. Firstly, we ask that all using the tool read the terms in use and acknowledge and cite the document where it is used. There is a contents page outlining each tab within the document. Tab 1 outlines the professional levels within the Competence Register. Here you can see we have Level 4 Executive. This is the direction and management of large organisations and initiatives, international or national policy development, spatial and strategic planning, cross-sectoral coordination, or the direction of complex programmes and plans. Example positions include Director of Conservation Organisation, Executive Director or a CEO. We then have Level 3, a Senior Manager. This is direction, management of medium-sized organisations or initiatives, planning and management of projects and programmes within strategic frameworks, conducting and leading complex and technical programmes according to speciality. And example positions include Director or Head of a Conservation Department, Curator of an ex situ facility, Director or Head of an Education or Training Institute, Programme Director or a Scientific Director. We then have Level 2, Middle Management or Technical Expert. This includes management, organisation and leadership of technical sections and teams implementing plans and projects and completing specific and complex technical assignments according to technical speciality. Example positions include Programme Manager or Senior Officer, Section Head, Education or Engagement Officer, a lecturer or trainer, a field researcher or conservation scientist or a consultant. Level 0, the unskilled worker, is included here but not in the Competence Register itself. This level represents a baseline entry level for personnel. All those at Level 0 should be aiming to obtain Level 1 and above for the required role that they wish to achieve. In practice, few roles in threatened species recovery will sit neatly within one professional level. Every programme or organisation is different and levels used here might not fit perfectly to all scenarios or roles. Therefore, it is important to remember that individuals are likely to require competencies from multiple levels. Tab 2 outlines all the competency categories and professional level statements and overall function. Tab 3 is a count of the number of competencies in each category, group and level. Tab 4. This is the overall structure of the Competence Register, outlining the broad subjects within each category to assist you in finding the location of the competency you need. The categories across the Competence Register are designed to be a sector average best fit for how threatened species recovery practices are typically differentiated. Therefore, these may not be a perfect fit for all organisations or programmes. Due to the nature of threatened species recovery programmes, it is inevitable that the categories will overlap with each other, and that most individuals will require competencies from several categories and levels in different combinations. This page can really help you navigate the Competence Register while you're becoming familiar with it. Some practices will be self-explanatory and easy to find. However, there are some competencies which overlap many areas of threatened species recovery, and so we have had to find locations which are relatively neutral. For example, capture and handling of species could be required in many areas of threatened species recovery, including invasive species control, transportation between ex situ facilities, conservation translocations, when dealing with confiscations, or the treatment of animals. However, we cannot repeat the competency in each category that it's applicable to. Therefore, in this case, we have chosen to place it in species health and welfare. This highlights the importance of remembering that most threatened species recovery roles will require competencies from categories across the register in a sort of pick and mix fashion. We then have tab 5. These are all the competencies within the register. Here you can see how the competencies are laid out. We have the group title and definition. We have the category title and definition. We have the professional level definition, and then we have the competencies themselves. In column A, we have a unique code and number based on the competence category and professional level. For example, PSP 4.1 means Planning Strategy and Programme Delivery, Level 4, Competence 1. We then have column B, Competence Statement. This provides a statement of the competence and is written so that it could complete the statement an individual should be able to. For example, coordinate development and updating of international or national policies, legislation and standards for threatened species recovery. We then have column C, the range statement. This is an explanation of the statement in column B, defining more precisely what is involved, and is intended to help ensure that each competence can be clearly understood in the same way by anyone reading it. Column D, knowledge requirements. This is a brief list of knowledge requirements associated with the competence. Being competent not only requires skills to complete a task, it also requires that the individual should know the specific facts and principles required to complete the task and understand the context in which it is completed. At this stage, it's important to note that these details are merely in place as guidance and to help explain what is meant by the competence statement. Neither are a definitive list. The details listed are generic, as they have to be applicable to all scenarios, species, regions, etc. In order to conduct specific practices outlined in the competence, recognised best practice guidelines should be consulted where available. We then have column E, associated competencies. These are the closely related competencies that may overlap with or complement this competence. This will hopefully also aid in navigating the competence register. So in total, there are 293 competencies, and nobody is expected to have all of the competencies within a category or a professional level. The competence register includes all possible competencies for all professional levels within threatened species recovery. You only require those relevant to your role or your training course or the specific need of the competence register. Tabs 5A to 5S are separate sheets based on the different categories. For example, here we have policy, strategy and programme delivery. We have in situ management, species trade and use, upholding laws and regulations, and advanced personal competencies, all separated into individual categories to help you navigate the register. We then have tab 6A to 6D. These are separate sheets based on the professional level, so the combined competencies for level 4, the combined competencies for level 3, the combined competencies for level 2, and the combined competencies for level 1. And finally, tab 7 are the references of the documents cited within the competence register. Now we've seen the competence register, I will briefly outline the different ways in which it can be used. First of all, it is important to highlight a few points. The competence register is a tool, not a rule. It is not a single global standard, but an open resource designed to encourage and inspire users to adopt competence-based approaches. The structure is merely to help you find the competencies. The nature of threatened species recovery is that we all work across professional levels and categories. It really is a pick and mix. There are numerous ways in which the Competence Register can be applied to threatened species recovery to increase effectiveness and improve individual, team, organisation or national performance. These include developing national standards, aiding the preparation of job descriptions, identifying priority needs for individual capacity development, identifying capacity development needs for organisations or programmes, generating support and funding for threatened species recovery, designing and assessing training curricula or courses, ensuring capacity development reflects local priorities and needs, browsing for ideas, organising information, or cross-referencing the competencies to other programme support tools. For full details of these points, see a global register of competencies for threatened species recovery practitioners, and for working examples of how these can be implemented, see a global register of competencies for protected area practitioners produced by the World Commission for Protected Areas. So that was a brief introduction into using the Threatened Species Recovery Competence Register. Thank you for watching. For the full details of the Competence Register, please read a Global Register of Competencies for Threatened Species Recovery Practitioners.